Hello, you're watching Transbrations. I'm your host, Nahshondion. Thanks for joining us. Today's special guest is Ceyenne Doroshow, a compassionate powerhouse performer, activist, organizer, community-based researcher, and public figure in the trans and sex worker rights movement. As the founder and executive director of G.L.I.T.S, she works to provide holistic care to LGBTQ sex workers while serving on the following boards: SWOP Behind Bars, Caribbean Equality Project, SOAR Institute, and NYTAG. As an international public speaker, her presentations include the Desiree Alliance, Creating Change, SisterSong, Harm Reduction Coalition, and the International AIDS Conferences, now Pride on FX. Ceyenne has published features in GQ, Vogue, Time, and many other publications. At the present time, Ceyenne is building her Leadership Academy and envisioning a medical center and combined housing unit in Queens, New York, building sustainability for the community like no other. Hello, Ceyenne, how are you doing today?
Okay, I got it. Hi, good afternoon.
Nice to see you, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
This is Pride Month, so we want to just give a shout out to everybody and say Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Stay safe, make sure you stay safe and stay hydrated. And it's okay to take, I guess some of your clothes off. It is the summer.
It's about time.
It is about time. It is about time. So everyone has them, and some people have more than others. Sometimes there's just really no way to shake them off unless you get the law involved. So I want to just acknowledge our haters and say hello, haters.
Hello, haters.
Hello, haters, and thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. You're watching Transbrations, and today's special guest is Ceyenne Doroshow. You grew up in a very spiritual family in Bushwick. What was that like?
It was a lot. It was a lot as a child to understand your place as a Black person in an area that didn't see Black people that way. Because my parents were both professionals, it looked different. Because my mom, just out of the clear blue, decided to give out free lunch from us. And, looking at it, my mom was giving out free lunches at a time when Black women didn't even have access to taking care of community or activism or stuff like food sustainability. Mm-hmm. And my mom also worked at the school right around the corner from her house, which gave her more community and gave us community. But it also was a time when a queer child like me, and you could imagine, I was a flowery little thing, wasn't understood in any of it. In all the pomp and circumstances in church and community, I still felt like a missing link in that whole setting.
And what church, what faith, what church was that?
So now this is something I think I commend my parents for, because we were raised, we wasn't raised Catholic. We went to Catholic school for a better education, but we were raised Baptist. So not only did we have to do the Catholic thing, we had to do the Baptist thing along with it. Yes, girl.
No, girl. Yeah. No, girl. No, queen.
Yes. It was the different cultures. Like Catholic Church made me sleep. Baptist Church kept me up. There was something I got in the message. There was something in the music. Mm-hmm. And Catholic Church just made me want to take a good nap and get an ass whipping, because I was taking the nap in church.
I read that you also received extra prayers because of your nature, the laying of the hands on you.
Yes, a lot.
So do you believe in the power of prayer?
I believe in the power of prayer, not so much the person that provides it. There were flaws in each and every hand that was laid on me.
Yes, honey, tell it, honey. Testify.
Fully damaging. And each and every person that laid hands on me had flaws. I think there was something unconnecting because they weren't connected. Okay. This was all performance. Right. Performance because I was so light and bright and seen. Yes, they were seeing me at that hour, at that time, at that age. They were seeing me for what I was and felt I needed prayer. I needed understanding. more than I needed prayer from a broken vessel.
And you realized that at that age?
I think it gave me a sense of distrust. And then we got to be clear here. There was a sexuality surrounded around church at that age. And I think still today, there's a presence of some stuff happening behind the scenes.
It's some tea.
Before you got to be on your knees, you got to pay tithes in some kind of way. I also think when you look at some of your patrons in church and the other families, how many of those kids actually look like the minister? That tells a story. They're not just their godchildren, they happen to be their children. But they're coming from different women. That kind of breaks your thought in the message that's being delivered. And I just remember a time when the ministers would scream out homosexual in such a tone, and every time I felt as if it was zeroed right at me, but there were so many other gay people in the damn church. How could y'all ever? At least I had the pride to be out. There was no cutoff. There was no button that said, tone that down. Even when I tried to get a girlfriend. It didn't work. One of those little church girls. Well, this persnippety bitch had on better clothes than I did, and I refused to take that.
The shade of it all, girl, the shade of it all. Interview, I'm gonna read some quotes and stuff too. Sugary, I was girly as fuck. I love that. I love that. We just talked about the church. How did your family deal with you being different in film?
They act like it was never going on, except for those rare occasions when I was caught in my mother's couture and shoes, as if it just was never going on. I don't know how. My aunt, years later, she said, and she was being catty. She was being mean. She said,
as they often are.
Yeah. She said, so I don't know how they act like they ain't never been through this. You've been like that since you were born. and I felt her read. Because what she really wanted to call me was faggot. And I would take that I would take it from her because I also pulled up the computer and let her see her son, John Mosier, on the Wendy Williams show, being talked about with some rapper guru, being in a relationship. Yeah, I will be faggot. I will be anything you call me. Yes, I will. Because your son, who is a man, was called out by Wendy Williams on national television, darling. Like suffer within my being. If you felt that I was different, why didn't you have that conversation with my parents to help me out? Clearly, there was no point of turn off. Because if I had that dialed down, I probably would have used that button.
It's interesting that you said that. Here we have all these adults, and I just want to kind of use this situation with all the mass shootings that's going on. You have all of this bullying and these mental health issues, and people want to keep saying, oh, it's the Republicans, it's the Democrats. No, it's not the Republicans. It's not the Democrats. It's these young people who are feeling neglected, who are feeling shunned, who are feeling shamed, and who are being abused.
We got, it's parenting.
It's the parenting. And it's a conversation that they act like they can't have.
It's parenting. It is controlled by the NRA, and the NRA are mainly Republicans. I'm sorry.
No, that's
those
true.
people that control the gun laws and with all the mass shootings, with all the shootings going on in New York and globally, that y'all have not figured out the NRA needs to be dismantled.
I mean,
and all gun, if the UK could figure out a better system to policing, then why are we still here playing cops and robbers? Why are our babies dying in schools? How many schools now have been shot up?
Dozens.
Dozens. Depressing.
Dozens.
And imagine how many of those babies were like us. Imagine the parent that didn't do the right job by that child. Sometimes you got to be the inner voice, and parents are not doing that. They want to be friends with their children. They want to be buddies and hang out. smoke a little weed together.
Yeah.
I don't wanna
You should, I would think, and I would believe, you know, with age comes wisdom and maturity, but I would also like to think that, you know, these conversations would be able to flow naturally. And so that's why I brought up that whole situation, because there's a conversation that is not taking place. And you have these adults, and I often encounter a lot of adults, and I look at them and I'm like, you guys can't be this, you can't be this fucking stupid. You can't be this fucking stupid. If I'm 44 and if I've suffered and if I've struggled and if I figured out how to make it and to survive and to thrive in this world,
what's wrong with you?
I don't get it. And so I have to tell people, don't invite me to your parties of grief. If you're not willing to invite me to your celebrations, don't invite me to your parties of grief, because I figured it out for myself. No, thank you. That's something you got to figure out on your own. And do not call me for emotional support. And I let that be made known in a sense, because then I won't have any more energy for me.
That's true.
You know, and that's not fair. But I said, these are conversations that if I can have more, if I can talk about this stuff, what
is your problem? Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I woke up for the past 2 days. I woke up like 4 or 5 o'clock, and I'm just looking at the news and looking at the mayhem and look at how we are stepping into Pride Month. And for the past 2 years, ironically, it's looked the same with the shootings and the carrying on. It's looked the same. Then y'all need to have better chance. That little girl uptown at 11 years old, I think. That was a babe. He was what, 19?
There's been so
15.
many.
15. He was 15 last week, 2 weeks ago. 15.
It's so many. I don't know.
Am I going to be the unlucky person that runs into a 15-year-old that don't like my transgiving and tries to kill me? And does that happen because his parents did not parent him well? Because there was no control? And we need to have these conversations. Somebody said to me, well, why do you feel it's necessary to have these conversations with cis people? I said, because they're raising these motherfuckers.
Yes, they are. They're raising terrorists.
So we need to have conversations with their parents. And I'm all for shaming them. Yes, I am. I'm not at that age where I have to hold back. You people fail. You fail your children.
It's a public health crisis. It's a public health crisis. No matter how, I mean, it's making people sick, and the amount of people that are having mental health issues, and they're not even having conversations about what this is going to look like in 10 or 20 years.
You know, in 10 years, I want to know what this is going to look like for me mentally, because there's so much of this that we have to give out. There's so much of healing that we are doing by just having this conversation that it takes from us every time we share. And we can't get the mental health therapy or shit we need for us to sustain. So imagine a parent that's failing at being a parent. Imagine that woman that's being abused by that man who's now teaching his son to be an abuser. Imagine that.
And giving him a high five. And giving him a high five.
And give him a high five.
Yeah.
They're so usually busy saying we need help. We need prayer. There's so much because they say we need it all. Then, sweetie, give us the 40 acres and a mule we need. We can succeed. Give us the scholarships. Matter of fact, if children had scholarships, minorities, people of color had full-time scholarships, I bet you'd see less crime. If they had 100% scholarships to send them to school, I bet they would choose school above crime.
Yeah, it's a lack of opportunity.
Kids go into debt trying to go to school. Families go into debt trying to teach their children, so they give up. They give up on the option of change.
As a child, your parents, you were cooking full-on meals, and you were often cooking in your mother's hills.
Yes.
And so obviously that's a skill that you
Whenever
learned.
she was out of the house.
You said what?
Whenever she was out of the house.
When she was out of the house. So that's a skill that you picked up. How did you learn? How did you pick up on cooking? How did you figure out what to make and how to do? Did your mother show you? Did your aunts?
No. My grandfather was a chef. My grandmother cooked every day except the holidays, and I found that strange. Every day of the year except
off on the holiday.
My grandfather did. And I was like, why does he get the holidays? And, you know, as I got older, I found out that he was a chef at the Copa. He was a chef for a lot of the mob. He was a chef for James Brown. You know, what? Yeah, so this
Papa's got a brand new bag.
This would explain why my grandfather was retired at 45.
All right.
They're not just in Park Slope. They're in Grand Army Plaza and have been for over 80 years. You know, that's unheard of. And it explained why he got the holidays. Because those yeast biscuits, ooh. And you know, I was there. I was there because I was too queer in my own house.
Mm.
So
How you doing?
How you doing? So I would be sitting with my grandmother and grandfather and just watching him work. And he would start Thanksgiving dinner, say at 7. By 3, the complete dinner was done. And we're talking all the fixings.
And so, and tell me, where was this? Because you're from the Caribbean. What island? What was your grandfather's background?
Trinidadian.
He was Trinidadian?
Yeah.
All of your folks are Trinidadian?
Oh, solid Trinidadian, that one. You know, you could tell from the accent when he would go, bye. I go, oh, okay. But he also was the quietest man. Like, he never beat us. He never yelled at us. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was the one. she was the discipline.
She was the
but he was always calm, cool, and collective. And just a quiet man. Mm-hmm. A quiet, proud man. Mm-hmm. Even when I blossomed, you know, he gave one critique and it was, oh God, it was so embarrassing, but it was a critique nonetheless. Okay. And he said, you know, you should stop using so many colors on your eyes. You look like a clown. Ooh. And I ain't gonna lie, I had yellow, green, blue, red, and it was all the way out to here. He was like,
he was looking out for you.
He was trying. But he said, don't you, you're not right. You're not right.
He said, you're not right. You're not right.
You're not right.
You said, look, and that's where you should have said, don't worry, I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna get it right. We gonna get it right. I sure enough
did. Right after that, I did. Because my grandmother started clocking and she said, less makeup.
Oh, wow.
Less liner. Mm-hmm. You're doing better.
So I know that in some of the articles you mentioned how the kids in the community, they acted towards you. Some of them were calling you, you know, names, and people were, you know, acting nasty, some of the adults and stuff. How did you deal with the shade and the shunning from the community?
I slept with their sons. There's a way to deal with this and a way not to deal with it. And I preferred the comfort of their children, their sons.
Right.
Because we were all in the same Boy Scout group together.
Now, can we say it was under a dozen or over a dozen?
It was, you know, being in that neighborhood, Bushwick, it's not the Bushwick it is today.
I'm sure.
But Bushwick has always been kind of LGBT friendly. It was a quiet gay. It was because there were literally one girl transitioning directly across the street from my mom and dad's first house. One down the block, there was a Dominican boy that was serving dick all over the place. There was a lot going on this block. But also it was a sense of family. Like it was known, I guess, by the boys, you know, she has service.
She has what?
The boys that would say stuff, because also I found a way, okay, you're gonna keep messing with me. I'm gonna catch you when you're vulnerable.
And what would you do?
Oh, taunt them. Invite them over for a
Mhm.
homemade pizza.
Oh. Thin crust or regular crust?
Thin crust.
Of course, with some pepperonis, right? Sausage, that Italian sausage.
Yes, ma'am. But forming that, I remember my brother being mad because the boys had something to say to me. And I remember my mom telling me, your brother's mad because they're calling you a faggot. I said, let me end this right now. And I opened up the door and I said, I slept with all of you. So the next one that got something to say, deal with me personally. Now, is everybody happy? Because this is what I didn't want to say to y'all. I'm not worried about his feelings at fucking all. If they're calling me anything as my brother, what do you do? What are you doing? Are you sitting there? So don't tell me about your warm and cuddly feelings. Stand up for me.
Mhm.
But I found a better way to stand up for me. By doing that, I was able to have leverage. And guess what?
It's
At the age of 12 and 13, it stopped because they knew their secrets were out.
And that's how you get them. So to a degree, I mean, so you were already fighting at a young age, but then is it safe? Can I say that you poured more gasoline onto the situation by doing what you did?
Oh, hell no. No, because then I found that they protected me. My brother protected me. They stood up. They never brought it up again, and they stopped saying anything.
Oh, okay. So what you did worked. So
yeah.
Because there's this whole.
But that was an era when you could call people out. Now, if you do it, you get done. I was ready to run away out of my home.
Hold on.
I knew I was. Now I did it because I had to. If you do it now, you get shot.
Yes.
But back then, I had to do it because it had come to the crossroad in my life when I realized I was not just a gay child, a gay boy, that there was something very different about me. And there was a part of me that was so much like my mother that she could probably not live with me because I had become a young lady throughout all of that. And I realized that I didn't like ratchet. I realized that, yes, I was a fancy bitch at a very young age, and that I wasn't willing to trade that. So if I have to leave home, I was ready. And I was tired of hiding. And at that point, I started running away because it was to save my life.
In an interview, you had said what you learned. You learned how to deal with those guys, that it was okay for them to be closeted, but it wasn't okay for you to be out. And obviously, if you were out, then they were out, and they would automatically be labeled as gay. What did you think of that hypocrisy at a young age? Did you realize that it was? Did you realize that it was hypocrisy?
I realized, yeah, I realized because like two of the people I really looked up to and really loved, two of the guys that I really loved, that came with conditions. The condition was that, I never out them. I never, and that's a lonely place to be.
Yes, it is. And it's they put us in positions where it's like, they want the key and they can just come and go when they want to and try to keep us in a closet where we're not in the closet. And my whole thing is, you can stay in that closet. I don't want to say, you can die in that closet, but it's not a fun place.
No. It's
not a fun place.
No, not at all.
It's a very miserable place.
Them walls are tight. Yeah. Ooh. It's very miserable.
Musty,
and
moldy.
I was miserable. I fantasized half my childhood about suicide because I just didn't know where I fit in. Catholic school I was just the worst because I definitely was feminine. I didn't want to change my clothes in front of the boys. I didn't want to go to swimming. They never figured out why I did not go to gym. That's why. And then when I did go to gym, what did I face in the locker room? And they never talked about that. With all the suing and everything that people have advantage to now, do I sue the Catholic Church for the amount of young men that tried to get their dick sucked or fuck me in the bathroom, in the locker room? Do I get any of that? And when does it happen? When does it happen? Because it should happen. That pretty much ruined my fucking life. But they don't talk about that. That's not something, you know, being that age and being the person I was drowning every day. I was drowning at home. I was drowning in school. I was drowning in other people's shit because I couldn't live my truth.
Yeah, it's other people should. Did you seek out any therapy, or how did you?
Of course, the Board of Education kept trying to send me to these off-beaten white men in Argyle socks and penny loafers with a dime in them, not a penny. And of course, every last one of them, there's a word for it. And back then, I think one of them said transvestite, and I said, no, ma'am. And he fell out laughing. Yeah, he said, it's called transvestite or cross-dress. I said, cross-dress? I said, my darling, everything I got on comes from Macy's. And it may look like men's clothes, but it's women's clothes. I just know how to style myself very well. I'm the new young man, okay? And he just kikied and he said, you can never tell your father. And at that time, my father was outside in the waiting room. And I think my father heard us chuckle and he banged on the door because he did not want me in that room laughing when there was something serious to discuss. Why was I the way I was? And you would imagine how the Board of Education failed me and my parents at the same time. Y'all fell for this shit instead of trying to understand me. You thought all this therapy was going to
fix
me. But then one of the schools sent me to the Gay and Lesbian Center back then. They called it Glennies.
Glennies?
Yes. And Glennies told me that there was no space in there and asked me to raise my hand. The 13th Street Gay and Lesbian Center. But back then it was the old building and it was very dark and dank and gray.
Oh, no. I never heard nothing like this before.
Yeah. And I went to the little gay and lesbian group and I had on my little padded bra and they said, no. You sit over there. You sit over there.
Queen, you better tell the truth and the whole truth to help. You know how that goes. You better.
And I moved my chair and I sat over there and I watched the gays and the lesbians and I left. I walked out and I got back on the train and went home and I went home early and I got an ass whipping because I went back home, that I didn't stay. But had they known that when I walked into that room of gays and lesbians, I wasn't welcomed in there. So, you know, I look at how we think of the world. It's this ever changing place and how, you know, the Jewish people got their 40 acres and a mule. Yes, they lived horrible lives. And still Black people yet today are not celebrated for how we were killed, genocide, raped, beaten, burnt. We've got nothing. You look at how our community, the LGBT community, but especially trans women, have been burnt, killed, murdered, shot, stabbed, and we still don't have 40 acres and a mule. We have nothing. And if you look at society in this progressive way, why haven't there been a state of emergency to protect Black trans women, trans children? Why hasn't there been anything like trans young men? Why haven't we had the opportunity to succeed and thrive? But yet being a gay white man or a very hard lesbian, white or Black, is perceived as okay.
The red carpet is rolled out for them.
Honey, men fantasize about two women eating each other, but me sucking a dick in a dress bothers them. Me having breasts bothers them.
Right,
it's a double standard.
It is a double standard. It is.
But we're going to need that 40 acres and a mule.
Yeah.
We're going to need everything to sustain, because still today, our children are not saved.
You were talking about earlier when you started transitioning, or, you know, how did that play out?
Oh, child, I was a quick, could be a pretty boy, or, you know, and I met Sylvester. Sylvester.
Hold on,
And
hold on. Sylvester?
Sylvester, Make Me Feel Mighty Real.
Oh,
And it was about,
no, queen.
yes, and it was about
Yes.
5 o'clock in the afternoon. No, about 6 o'clock to be exact, because I had to catch the train from school. And they used to allow me in there so I could learn. Once they found out I was underage, they said, well, you're only allowed in here during cabaret and what do you call that now where you can drink 2 for 1?
Happy hour.
Happy hour.
What was the name of this place? What was the name of this
96 West. It was on 96th Street and Amsterdam Avenue.
What was the name of it?
Amsterdam and Columbus. 96 West.
That's what it was called?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And the staff would let me, and I say God is good because I found one of them little gay guidebooks that said, this is the place to go. And I went. And they were right. But what I didn't know is that these older queer people were going to teach me. They were going to educate me and show me something. Mm-hmm. So as I blossomed and found this place, one afternoon, Sylvester was in there playing the piano. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh my God, that looks like, and they went, it is. And they were like, do you want to meet him? And I said, oh my God, is that okay? And they were like, yeah, definitely. And I got to meet her with my friend MacArthur, who also played piano, who was actually homeless. And MacArthur played the piano while she sang, and all the guys in the bar was singing. And I was like, this is like home. I found home. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I had several conversations with I had several conversations with these queer men and old lesbians. And, you know, they were telling me about my attire because I used to cut my shorts off and wear poom-poom shorts. And they were like, that's so unbecoming of a young lady. And I was stunned. Who you calling a young lady? And they were like, oh, sugar, you don't know yet, but it's happening.
To be real.
And then I did get to meet, so this tells you how fucking amazing my life has been. I met these 2 girls that lived on Columbus Avenue, 2 very well-dressed white girls, young, Pilar and Cindy Fiorucci, and had no idea who they were. Mm-hmm. And they took me upstairs to their condo, their summer condo, mm-hmm. and introduced me to fashion. And I had like a real life lesson. Gave me a pair of parachute pants before they were even out, and told me, you know, it would not be cute for me to wear a heel, but if I wanted to still live at home, maybe I should get a cowboy boot. It would still give me the effect of having a heel, but it would be a boy's shoe.
That's true. That is true.
And you know, learning those lessons.
Those little tricks.
Well, sweetie, I went out and bought me a pair of male pink cowboy boots.
Yes. Make it work. Make it work.
Make it work. And I realized that maybe there's a chance that I don't feel comfortable in men's clothing. Mm-hmm. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn, because I do remember my mom would buy like shit and I would have to make it match it to, and then I got my first job, and that first job opened up a doorway to fashion. Oh. Like at that point, I knew. I was like, okay, this bitch is buying honchos and capes and not the normal stuff a little queer child would get. I was going for, let's do Fifth Avenue.
You were going for runway.
But also, I didn't think about it. My grandparents lived in Park Slope. So what I got from that neighborhood was why I got so much of this. Because those bitches was coming out their door done. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
Okay. I get
now I see.
It influenced you.
And then my mom. So, you know, that's why I was in the kitchen in her heels.
Yes. Did she ever catch you?
It was all the time. It was when AOL had the
yeah. And I
would be on the computer looking. there's a sale.
Oh.
And I was also looking up what I was. And at that point, it was still reading the same thing.
Transvestite.
Yeah, and cross-dresser.
Uh-huh.
And that just depressed me. That pushed me because, also because every picture of a transvestite that was on the computer was some beat down white, close to looking heroin addict, just just shrunken in person, or somebody that just looked clownish. So I was like, is this what they expect of me? No, man, I can't do that. I'm not made to do that.
Yeah.
Like there's some people that can do that. I don't think I'm there. And then the explanation of it was not me.
Okay.
At that point, I knew I never wanted to touch a male's. I was disgusted just from getting up here Fruit of Balloons. I'm not wearing those. Let me figure out how to do this snatch.
Okay, get into this bathing suit. Get into these panties.
Yes, and I think one day I remember when I was young, I think my mom said something. Why don't you have a print? Your brother has a print. And I so wanted to say why. But I was already full girl by then.
Oh, your mother, she got the tea.
Oh, she caught the tea many a times, because many a times my pants would be tight as all cut loose, especially those parachutes.
So what age did you start tucking?
Like 10, 11.
Damn. Oh, that's real. That's young. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's young.
Also, I was stuck in these places of going in the gym, of having real dysphoria, because I would be put in those places of gym and sports, and really sports.
Hypermask. Yeah.
Boy Scouts, really me? Boy Scouts, karate lessons. Oh, sugar.
Yeah.
And just having to face the locker room, which I never liked. I never not only the smell, I didn't want to see men's asses, dicks, none of that. Quite the contrary to what people think. Oh, we just probably would live. No, it disgusted me, and it turned me way the fuck
off. Can I say hated it?
Hated it, yes.
Hated it.
Because I was like, and you hear some of them say, yeah, I bet you just want to be in here looking at us. No, matter of fact, I need you in your curtain call to go call somebody.
So is there an age that you started taking, what age did you start taking hormones, like, medically transitioning?
Not until age to like mid-20s. I furthered it. Each and every time I tried to go back home, it became worse and worse. Each and every time I needed to depend on these people, I found out a new shock, something else to rattle my brain, something else to cause insecurity, something else to just make me want to be one of those people running around here doing the bad stuff. And instead, I chose self, which means I'm gonna have to run away and get the fuck away from you people, because you're my downfall.
Let me go back to this. Did Sylvester say anything to you?
Yes. So, hanging out in that club taught me so much. So Sylvester told me, was one of the ones that said, those little nasty shorts you got on, that's not for you. And then pointed towards the little white twinks in the bar, said, that's for them. Couple of weeks later, that's why Sylvester was in there. They started giving me like a little leeway. So I was allowed, because I had curfew, to stay in until 8 o'clock. And a couple of weeks later, Sylvester and 2 Tons of Fun went. And for that, they let me stay a little bit later. And then I got to meet so many people. So this is gonna blow you out the water. So
I like it.
I was dating this guy named Herc, and Herc was a bouncer in 96 West. And of course, I was every bit of 15.
Okay. A teeny bopper.
Yes. And Herc was about 19, 20. And Herc gave me a dust joint by mistake.
You said he gave you a dust joint by mistake?
He gave me a dust joint by mistake. He gave me a cigarette pack and told me to take out a joint and go smoke it. I pulled out the wrong joint. And of course, I didn't know what the fuck was happening to me. So I went in the bathroom. They took me in the bathroom, but they left me. And I'm in the bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom, but I'm stuck. I cannot move. I'm standing with the door open and can't walk through the door. And this woman comes in the bathroom, like these cornrows in the front of the hair, or like twists in the front of the hair, but a lot of hair in the back, no blouse whatsoever, and this jean acid wash like work jacket. Very nice business suit, but tapered. And she helps me go to the bathroom. And I am mind fucked because this woman is helping me urinate and I can't speak or move. So she runs to the bar. She gets the bar to bring me a glass of milk and water. And that's to make me come down. And I start to come down. And everything is coming back to me. And she goes, "So how are you?" And I said, "I'm scared. I'm okay, but I'm scared." And she goes, "Well, my name is Taka Boom. Let's wipe you off." And she wiped my face off. And she says, "I want to introduce you to my sister." And I said, "Taka Boom, that's an unusual name." She said, "I have an unusual sister." Where you off to? Okay. And I say, "Your sister?" And she says, "Yeah, you'll see in a minute." And she takes me, she's dancing with this white guy. And I go, "Your sister Shaka Khan?" And she goes, "Yes." Taka Boom is Shaka Khan's sister.
I wouldn't have never known.
So I didn't know. I won't say the location because they presently still live in that area. But, you know, look at the blessing that a young queer person had wound up in this place to learn from so many different people. Steve Winwood was with her, and this happened to be her neighborhood bar that she would fall into every now and then. Then a couple of years, fast forward, now I'm in there, I'm a regular. A couple of years later, not a couple of years, the next year, it is my big birthday. It is my 18th. It is my 18th birthday. It is there. I am grown now. Mm-hmm. Of course, I was living at my grandmother's house, and I had a curfew for 1 o'clock in the morning, but I didn't make it because I stayed in the bar. So I'm in the bar. And because my birthday is right by New Year's, because I'm born in December, they tell me I have to hold this bar seat. It's a part of my birthday surprise. And I say, okay. And I get bored and I get up. I want to dance with the girls and stuff. And they said, no, go back to the seat. If anybody takes this seat, you'll mess up your birthday present. So I go back to the seat. And just as I go back to the seat, full of attitude. This lady comes in the door. She takes off this long fox coat and she throws it into the coat. And it is Phyllis Hyman, the person I was holding the seat for.
I want to say I'm having a hard time believing all of this fabulosity.
But
I believe it. I believe it.
So it gets better. So, you know, this is just a blessing of me landing in this place. There's a lot of books and quotes about 96 West written, and all of it, you can find it. So Herc, the same guy, Herc, takes me to he says, you know, it's your birthday. I'm going to give you the night. You fellas, Jaime, we're all going out. And we go to a bar called Andre's on 125th Street. And it's the first official drag show I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And because it's my birthday, I'm getting the star treatment. And I get a tap on my shoulder. Life is full circle. And a tap on my shoulder happens to be my godfather, Andre, who's in a nursing home in Long Island right now. And I said, oh my God, Uncle Andre. And he said, what are you doing in here? And I said, Herc brought me. He said, what are you doing with him? And I was like, you know Herc. He said, I got some stuff to tell you. So he takes me outside. He says, come with me. And he takes me outside Andre's. Andre's was the first Black gay bar in New York City. He takes me outside. Now, remember I said my uncle's name is Andre. He takes me outside and he shows me this picture of two people that sort of look like me in the window and a baby. Well, that baby is my Uncle Andre, because Andre's was our family bar. All of this gaiety in my life, and y'all didn't think to send me to Andre's, New York City. So look at the path of how God took me through all these transitions and put me around probably the very best people to shelter me and be my angels to get me to this age today. But imagine that. And it's kind of how I met Flawless Sabrina in a park. Angels gotta be watching over me. I was sleeping in that park. I had a whole condominium set up in the bushes when she took me out that park. So look
Central
at
Park.
God. Yeah, Central Park. Look how God has sheltered me throughout my homelessness, throughout my track of discovering the lady I've become, because I had to go through it. But as a child, I seen so much better. So actually finding that place saved my life, because I could have went to, which I did wind up going to, a Better Days. That was more rustic and Black and voguing. I didn't, so I was raised with the gay community, far from that. I was with the older queer academics, the real bougie Black people, and the people
The
that
bourgeoisie.
yes, that kind of had a little swagger and some money. And that kind of like
intellectual.
because, oh honey, when I was not on brand, oh, they would let me have it. They would let me have it. There was a little store on 96th Street. When my outfit was not together, oh bitch, them old queens would go, girl, come on. Yeah, I don't know what you thought you was doing with this. Fashion that you don't always have to have $1 million, but this here, we're not gonna do. And I remember one day I thought I was cute. I sewed up, I got some velvet material I found, and I sewed up this little halter top. Girl, they took the halter top and made a turban around my head to match the sweatsuit. And it was cut. They put a little brooch up there.
Okay.
So they were like, yeah, you came up in here, broad daylight, halter top, and boom, what we tell you about those shorts? No. If I can see it, you should not be in it.
So the community took you under its wing and pretty much groomed you.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit more about Flawless Sabrina. You said you met her in a park. She approached you. What happened?
I seen her a couple of times in my life before. So I was allowed to go to Bentley's because one of my friends was a party goer, a girl named Alita Cornelius. Like, she went to all the happening parties and took me to Bentley's. Flawless Sabrina, at I think 70 years old, was up in there, honey, twirling. And I was kikiing, who's this old white woman? She is a kiki. And we hung out for a little while. She was like, I love young people. I love being around y'all. I still had no idea who she was. Weeks later, winter's now turning into spring. I get thrown out again. So I hit Central Park.
Oh.
I figure if I can't, I didn't want to go to a shelter. I was scared. I didn't want to go to under 21. I was scared. I went to Central Park. And she was walking her dog and said, because she heard me, I think I was coughing in the bushes. And she was like, sweetie, can you come out the bushes? And I came out the bushes and she said, I know you. Just went to like the water fountain and washed my shirt off. So I had it hanging over the bushes. And I maybe a couple of things, I think panties and she was like, are you really staying in there? And I said, yeah. And she was like, no. Pack it all up. Come with me. And I said, no, that's okay. I'm fine. And she said, no, you're not okay. And I'm not going to call the cops. Don't worry about that. You're going to come to my house and eat and take a bath and wash up. And I said, listen, girl, I am not into that. And she said, and neither am I.
Okay, catch it, honey. Catch it, honey.
And I went back to her house and
there'll be no funny business tonight.
She was authentic. She couldn't cook, but she tried.
Oh, okay.
She made an egg, and I think I had crackers and avocado because she
Tuna
really
fish.
don't buy food. She really don't buy food either. And she was like, this is the best I could do, but if you could cook, you're welcome to go in there. And I was like, wow, this is really nice. And then that opened up the door for me. She did wind up calling Covenant House and actually getting me a room, but that went horribly. I mean, horribly. So I didn't stay, and then I was ashamed to let her know. So a couple of years later, I ran into her again, and now I'm blossoming. And I'm still not speaking to my parents. Okay. And she runs into me, but this time I'm on drugs. And she realizes it. And she says, I cannot leave you like this. You're coming with me. And she takes me isolated on the side of the Hudson Valley Mountain where I slept. I had a bath. I had nutrition, probably the best hamburger I've ever had. And I got rest, and it was just me and her mom in there. And her mom asked me so many questions about my future and my life and where did I want to go. And it kind of it was a reality check. And also I had not been sober in probably months. So I needed that detox. I needed to get out of New York. I also had no clue where the fuck I was. And then Jack came back and said, you look wonderful, after the weekend, and said, you look wonderful. We're going back. And I said, we're going back where? And Jack said, well, first, you're going to get a massage. I'm going to send you to get a massage. There's so much in my life that has been crazy. So my masseuse lived on 50th Street and also gave Michael Jackson massages. So flawlesssabrina has some connections on top of that. So I went for the massage, and when the massage was over, I caught a cab back to her house like she instructed, and she called downstairs to the garage, and me and her got in her little ugly station wagon with the wood panels on the outside, and she drove me back home to my mom's. Yes, this white queen took me back home in her coif, full wig, to my mother's house. And I think the coif that day was a mohawk.
And did she meet your mom?
Yes. She rang the doorbell and told my mother and went inside. And Cayenne is not a faggot. Cayenne is not gay. Cayenne is not a cross-dresser, a transvestite. Coy is transgender.
She told your mother that?
Yes. And it did change the language for a little while. It went right back to hate anyway. But for a little while, I was accepted back home. But then it was clear, now that the explanation was given, she arrived. And then there was no bars, it was out.
It's parade and pride time.
It was out of the bag and there was no going back.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it crossed the line for both my parents. There was no going back. It was there. Yeah. She arrived. She's here. She's going to put water balloons up here to make it work.
She's a lady.
Any means necessary.
Yes, honey. Yes.
And it didn't work. It didn't work. And it really showed me at that point, Flawless had became family and had became a mother figure.
Okay.
When I needed one and didn't even realize that's what was going on. Somebody that took you home to get it right is somebody you want to call mom.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, our relationship from there I have met Air Supply, Johnny Mathis, Jackie Mason, Florence Henderson.
Oh, wow.
Deborah Harry. I have just been blessed to be.
What was Flawless's background?
Her brothers are Godfrey Diamond and Greg Diamond. Godfrey's still living. Greg died. RCA Records. I said in this vision, and I think Flawless's dreams and wishes for me has kept me in this light of advocacy and activism. And I know she's proud. I know my dad, Curtis, her partner, is proud. He is so proud. And I'm proud of her legacy. I did not know. Did you know Flawless Sabrina wrote Sean Papillon for Shaka Khan? Found all of this out at the memorial. She wrote Sean Papillon. She wrote a couple of songs, major songs for major singers.
Did not know that.
I found this out at the memorial.
Now, I do know who Flawless is. Yeah. And I know she's in that documentary, The Queen.
Yeah. I did not know that, or I didn't know that she was the one that created the ballroom scene. She started the first balls. I knew none of this. All I knew her as is a mother figure. Literally, I'm sitting next to her brother at the funeral and he's going, "You didn't know any of this, did you?" I'm sobbing.
You didn't know?
And he's like, "She loved you for you. And she loved you because you never asked." The only thing I've ever directly asked her for was my name and first and last. And she gave them to me on the spot. And she said, out of all her children, I'm the only one that asked for Doroshow.
How many did she have?
A lot. Criteria, Rose, Sweetie New York, my niece is Zachary, all of them.
She's the one in the documentary where she gets into it with the Black Queen, or the queen who's talking about, I'm going to show my colors.
Yes.
And she's gorgeous. She's talking about how she's beautiful.
You're gorgeous, honey, but you need to do better. She reads the world and getting men to transition into women for pageantry. And that's how this all began. Then she got the girls, but she had to make it palatable to cis people to get the funding to throw these balls. Then she could bring the girls into them. And what turns out and what came out of that is this whole movement we have now called ballroom.
Wow, I had no idea. I've watched that documentary once because I just love that scene where that girl is getting into it, talking about,
the trophy, and she's mad as hell. But imagine me not knowing, people have been inviting me to balls for years. Imagine me not knowing the very person sitting up under my nose is the creator of that.
They don't mention her name that much being the creator of the ballroom.
Because what goes past that? There's nothing. There's nothing in ballroom that goes past the Continental Ball started that year.
You know, I'm from California, so
Yeah.
I don't know that much about.
She's from California. They're originally from California.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But imagine that this whole culture, so of course they're not going to mention it because everybody's the mother of this or the father of this.
You said right.
Mm-hmm. That is the creator. There's nothing before the Continental Balls.
Nothing.
Nothing documented, nothing on record. What was before the Continental Ball?
I had no idea.
I had no idea. And so you know, as people were telling me, but you know, that I knew about the balls and everything. But I asked her, why wasn't it okay for me? And she said, because I don't want you to get jaded. I also think you need to ground yourself in education. This is a frivolous, her favorite line to me. This is for sure. But also she cut off my access to that life. She did, Lord knows, show me a greater side of life. But she did shelter me away from a lot of the stuff. I thought there was one night I was fucked up and she called me, and I think it was Air Supply. It was one of those music groups. And she was having a problem and they were all fucked off for drugs and she needed them to come down. And she called me and said, what do I do? And I said, get tons of marijuana, get food in abundance. They're not gonna eat in the beginning, but if you have it there, eventually as they come down, and what you will see, have lots of Tylenol and ready for them in the morning. Mm-hmm. As you will see, they will come down and you'll be ready for the show tomorrow. And it worked. And she called me in the morning and she was like, girl, you saved my life. Because at that point, she was handling a lot of the stars for her brother because she was this persona. Mm-hmm. She was this person. On the total opposite of Greg Diamond and Godfrey Diamond. Mm-hmm. The polar opposite. She was this huge drag queen. They were just music producers.
I remember when she died, it may have been 6 months or a year after her death, or maybe 2 or 3, I don't know. But I know she passed in 2017, right? So I remember seeing a GoFundMe from, I think it was one of her daughters.
Zachary Drucker.
Zachary, yeah, who put together a GoFundMe. And I know they were requesting funds to get her archives and everything together. And how did all that go?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. They found pictures of me I will never let anybody to see. They found some books. They found my book I autographed for her. We got pictures from every event. Some of her elaborate outfits. Elaborate. So many things. Cement gluing your heads for the flawless coif. I like taped and everything. I also remember her in her underwear. Like I would open up the door for celebrities and she would still be in her underwear, paying them as if she's in a robe. Just walking around the house. Would you like to put something on? No, darling, that's okay. I'm all right. Nothing to show them. Wow. That's who she was.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to talk about you starting at nonprofits, or do you want to talk about Red Umbrella Project and the cookbook?
So both, actually. Really quick, the nonprofit started because I went to jail in Jersey for sex work. Mm-hmm. I ended up serving 30 days. In those 30 days, I wrote a cookbook.
Yeah.
Red Umbrella produced it, and
Cookinginheels.
Cookinginheels. Mm-hmm. And that may have been the biggest mistake of my life, partnering with the person that helped me produce that book. As white people do, I was objectified and used by the whole process.
And well, the cookbook was some of your family's recipes?
My recipes.
Your
My
recipes.
recipes.
Papa Frank's Ting Ting, Fiery Red Snapper, and Ty's Pig Pot.
Yes, yes.
What is Ty's Pig Pot, honey?
Oh, it is a pig pot. It's everything. Everything from the rooter to the tuna.
Like a gumbo, like a gumbo.
Yes, yes, but just pig and yuca and potatoes and carrots and a broth that just takes you home. All you need is a piece of cornbread.
Ooh, stop it, girl. Stop it. Stop.
You may not even need no white rice.
What? So, I remember back then in 2013, that's when I found out about Red Umbrella Project, the memoir writing program, because that's what I was in 2013. And so that's how you came onto my radar. And that's when I met you at several different events. And I had your cookbook at one point, and I know you can't get it online anymore. It's out of print. And then I remember seeing you, I want to say maybe a few years after that, because I went to one screening of the documentary, the documentary, and you had on your, I've watched it several times. You have on your sequins and everything, and you're talking about the church and all of your experiences and stuff, and you're walking in your heels. How did you feel about the documentary project?
I felt used. So did the girls. There's many moving parts to this. So
G.L.I.T.S is your nonprofit. Tell us about it. When did you develop the idea? What does it stand for?
G.L.I.T.S is gays and lesbians living in a transgender society. Mm-hmm. The reason why I created it is because of an agency like Red Umbrella. When you leave our people behind, you're not a part of the process. You're a part of that system. It's my daughter Aaliyah's birthday. Mm-hmm. She came to New York from Guyana. That's one of the reasons why I created G.L.I.T.S, is because of her. I founded G.L.I.T.S because of her cry for help from Uganda that had all the fact-finding points for me to extract her from Africa. Her stuff was checkable. There was no second thought about this. If I left her, she was going to die.
And would this have been in 2013, 14, or 15?
This was like 2010.
Oh, much prior. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it took time.
Okay.
It took time and configuration and a lot of lying, because I was trying to figure out how to get her here, especially when immigration is not so willing to let a trans girl into the country. Mm-hmm. When your ID says something different.
Right, yeah, I'm sure.
So it was a lot of work, but there were also, we had so many obstacles. And I realized at that point, G.L.I.T.'s work is about helping somebody that cries out for help, not so much questioning them to the point of making them relive it, but how can I help you? Yeah, I got the proof. Now I need to strategize how to get you out. That's what G.L.I.T.S did. That's what we were built for.
Inspire yourself to inspire others.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's my motto.
Yeah.
And that's G.L.I.T.S. So much came out of this. We got a lawyer, soon-to-be lawyer, a soon-to-be doctor, 2 nurses, a chiropractor, who I need to be calling because I need some stuff done.
Okay.
But this is what we've gotten out of making changes in people next level.
These are your clients. They're transgender.
Yes, these are our people. I don't like to call them clients, but I like they're all there. So I don't have just transgender. I'm dealing with the umbrella. So I don't care about you just being trans. You just have to be 100% of this part of this circle, and you have to want something. We have so many programs in New York that are not for anything other than a certificate. I'm gonna need you to have a job, a bank account, a car, a home, an education. Because with that education, it needs to start with the education so you know how to deal with all that other stuff that come after. But clearly without a home and an education, what future do you have?
And how do you deal with they, them, their, those, that, then?
Child, don't get me. See, you made me itch. You made me itch.
Yes, queen. Yes, queen.
Itch. So I'm trying, I'm doing my best to make it end. I'm trying to understand. I got into a big argument with somebody that is an academic who said, we have been around forever. I said, darling, you're talking to a 50-something-year-old trans woman. You have not. Let me explain the introduction of whiteness. Because of all of that, we now have so many pronouns and gender expressions and forms that now society is confused, and yet still a Black trans woman can't live. So before you tell me in all your Blackness that them, they, us, and our has been around for decades, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah,
This went as far as this person to be so mad at me that we'll never talk again. But you're not understanding from a 50-some. Do you not see that the struggle is still real for a Black trans woman? So I don't want to hear about all of that. Live your expression, but don't expect me to understand anything when I'm still trying to understand myself in society that don't even see a place for me.
Yeah, those pronouns those pronouns, although everyone's pronouns should be respected, that's common sense.
Oh, definitely.
But all of this talk about pronouns, it just seems like it's just another reason for people to just.
What I learned in the past 5 years is that even in my gender expression, transgender, that Paul in a skirt, who is now them, they, and us, has a corporate job. But a very Black and talented Ceyenne or Nahshon still are struggling and trying to make a way. But Paul, in that skirt, lipstick, full-on purse, mustache and beard, but gender non-conformant, has a job.
Yeah.
Has an apartment, owns a car, and still Ceyenne. So
probably has a 401k plan too.
It did probably get, and we're still struggling to be ourselves. So you can't look at Black trans women in the same light. And, you know, it just throws so many different levels to how we will be disrespected as trans women. So people don't see all this other white noise in the background.
No, they don't.
These expressions were not created by us.
No, and no, they were not. So things have drastically changed for the community and progressed in the past decade, especially within the past 5 years. We now have a tremendous number of available and life-affirming resources regarding health, finances, education, and housing.
Not finances.
Well, no. You know what? No, that was a mistake. You're right. That was a mistake. Did you ever think you would see more resources poured into the community, while at the same time, many folks are still harming, excluding, and exploiting us?
We don't have enough. If you have a rooming house or a studio building for a community, then you're not sustaining them. You're creating another jail for them and no way out. When you have linkages that link to getting out, jobs, resources, education, then that's a way out. That's a way out. Because if you can sustain, and here's the thing, I believe if you've ever been in jail and you've lived in a cell, to come out of jail and go into another cell, which is called SRO, to another cell, which is called a studio, where's the growth? Where's the growth? I'm gonna need for my people to have hand in hand education and housing. Enough room to grow, enough room to grow into wanting a house, wanting to own their own, wanting to have ownership. If we stay stuck in this place where the city says, oh, we have New York City housing, how many trans girls you know live successfully in housing without getting their door kicked in or raped or beat up or terrified to leave her apartment? How many of those housing units are made for people like us? None. Not even on the Lower East Side.
I remember about 2 years ago, there was a Black trans woman or a Black transgender person who was found dead in her apartment. And
no answers.
I think they had said, you know, they saw someone on camera coming to visit her or something. And, you know, I was just.
But these are the places that are created in the lack of sustainability. We got to do better. But I'm not even waiting for them to.
You said you're not waiting for them?
I'm not waiting for the government society. Because what we got works and it's working. People are living peacefully. They're at home. My tenant cried because of the accessibility, the design of it all. Like, he designed his apartment. Never in a million years did he think he would be able to not only design it, but have people do it for him. Mm-hmm. Every little stripe, curtain, every little nuance in it. I told him, you have a career, and he has gotten a job working. He just did a shoot for Home Depot.
I'm going to read a quote of yours, okay?
Yes.
Creating housing is about saving people's lives. It's about getting them, Black transgender people, to the next step where they can be in their own kitchen and say, I am home.
That's it. That's it.
Amen. And it starts at home. You need a foundation. You need somewhere where you can feel comfortable and peaceful and relax and let your hair down, you know.
I'm flying out, I think not next week, the week after. I'm flying out to California because our Vanessa Wari is going to graduate with her master's. She's going right into her doctorate. She's not taking off. She's going right into her doctorate, a Black trans woman that I met 7 years ago. And she said, I've been working for these non-for-profits and I just can't get a raise. Mm-hmm. And I said, let's go back to school. And look where we at.
Where's she graduating from?
UCLA. Where's she going for her doctorate? UCLA. The first Black trans girl. This is what G.L.I.T.S is about. This is what she want to look into the audience and see somebody that she calls family. I'm always there for that. Oh. Like, as soon as she told me that, I got choked up and I started crying. And I said, well, bitch, I'm gonna be there. Because she was like, ain't nobody gonna be here. And I said, I never thought about it. We don't think about stuff like that. I never thought about it. She's right. And guess what? Me and my assistant will be right there, clapping, might do a little shout.
Yeah. Sequins?
No, probably.
I'm used to seeing you in sequins.
She wants me to wear blue for her. Because her college UCLA is blue and gold.
Mm-hmm. Right, that is, yeah. I used to live not far from UCLA, and I had extensive.
I'm praying she might get the commencement speech.
Really? All right.
This is what we want. This is what we want society to see. If you're gonna stop thinking we're just showgirls, we're not a part of RuPaul Drag Race, some of us. There's more to us than just a pop, dip, and a spin. Yeah, there's actual real life going on and real parenting. This time next year, I want to adopt a kid. Mm-hmm. I want to adopt a kid and spoil them, yes, fucking rotten, but turn them into a doctor, a lawyer, a judge, because that's what I'm pouring into community. Why not pour it into a child or two that I can adopt?
That is true. Let me ask you this question. So it's much easier to transition now than over a decade ago, you know, with the IDs, gender marker changes, documents. Do you think the younger, pardon me?
Surgery.
Yes, honey. Give me give me some Percocet. Give me the anesthesia. Knock me out and give me my Percocet. Yeah. Do you think younger trans realize how easier they have it?
In so many ways, they don't care. They're born into this privilege. Mm-hmm.
You said they don't care?
No, they don't care. No. A lot of them don't. A lot of them feel like, well, that was you. you had to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to understand too, they're not teaching this generation safety, the tools of survival. Everything that helped us survive, because who are they killing? The younger ones.
Yes.
So there's a gap in these life lessons.
Yes, there's. Let me ask you this. So do you think trans girls and women can still use the excuse of being discriminated against to continue prostituting? Is it fair
I don't like the word prostitute.
To be a sex worker?
I think white people love to hear that word prostitute. It just stretches out. It's just
like prostate.
But yeah, kind of. But when I think of sex work, yeah, survival is survival.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody is going to cut it. Not every girl can make it. The reality is survival sex work is survival sex work. The girls that are doing it for kinks are usually not Black and trans, Spanish and trans. So you got to look at the history of sex work and why people are doing sex work, and then look at how many corporate offices and how many big businesses don't invest in stopping or putting a stop to sex work, eradicating the problem of sex work. How many Oprahs you know, Tyler Perry's you know, how many Donald Trump's you know, investing in Black trans women. Joe Biden ain't either. We damn sure know Kamala Harris will never.
To even bring her up, she is I'm not gonna call her out of her. I'm not gonna call her out.
I'm gonna say it, the worst.
I'm not gonna call her out. If you didn't help
the trans women of San Francisco,
she shut she shut Craigslist and Backpage down.
The reason why people are doing survival sex work is they have no other choice.
Yeah,
they have no other choice.
And oftentimes, some of them they're victimized when they're in the process of doing sex work. But you said with the younger trans and that age gap, and you hear about them being victimized and stuff. Sometimes I'm just like, are they not aware that? I mean, you be whoever you are. That's your right. That's your birthright to be whoever you are. Be whoever you want to be. But you have to realize that when you go out into the community and engage with these.
1 second, guys. I'm gonna need help with my outfit and packing all of this stuff.
You have to realize that when you go out into the community and engage with these men, that some of them are still homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic. Yeah. I mean, you have to realize that everyone is not going to be nice and kind to you.
But not only men, women too.
Women too. You're right. You're right. Women too.
It's become a double-edged sword where at one point women were not bothered. And now we've reached the point where women are threatened by our presence.
Now that we're moving into this, I'll bring it up now. So I remember in Jamaica about 5, 6, 7, maybe about a decade ago, there was he was a male. I assume he was gay, but he was a transvestite. And so he was at a party and he was dancing with men and having a good time, and no one clocked his teeth, no one got caught on. And he saw a female there that he knew, and he felt comfortable enough disclosing who he was. He knew her. Obviously, she didn't know him as a female or dressed up. And so he told her who he was. When he revealed to her who he was, she rang the alarm. And those guys, they beat him, they ran him over, they shot him, and they killed him. And it was all in the news, and so another story is, now that we're getting into the violence against trans, Victoria Carmen White was a trans woman who I knew dating back to 2002, 2001. I met her through another trans woman. And I remember I was living in New York for a while, and then I moved back to California, and she came out there and we hung out, and I don't know how or what happened. I just happened to be online and I came across the TDOR website, Transgender Day of Remembrance. And I saw her name, and I didn't understand why I saw her. I didn't understand why her name was there, because I read the news and follow things, but I hadn't heard about it. And I don't think I was talking to that person at that time. If I was, she didn't tell me. I don't know. To make a long story short, she was at a club in New Jersey with her two female cousins. They went to a straight club. And it's my understanding that her female cousins, when they would be out in public or at places, that they would often out her to people and be like, that's a man, that's a dude. Even though she was, you know, she was a sex change. At the house, they met some guys at a party, went back to the house. Something happened in the restroom with one of the guys. He ended up shooting and killing her. The guy was arrested, and he was, you know, I think probably did maybe, you know, went through the process, but he didn't serve
Wasn't
any
even charged.
No.
And we got to change that in society too, because that's another thing. This willingness to say it was our fault.
Yeah.
And not take claim that what y'all are doing is erasure.
It's often people think when something happens to a trans person, it's because she didn't tell him the tea or she was tricking him. And oftentimes that's not the case.
Most of the time he knew. He was there. He didn't even like her feminine side. So let's not play.
Catch it. Right. They coming for that candy. Yeah. They want that candy bar, that Snickers bar. They want that almond joy. That milk chocolate with nuts.
Yes.
Pecans and walnuts and all those goody that fill their mouths up. So
the clapping of it all.
Yeah, right. Exactly. A mouthful. You got me all out of order, Queen. You got me all out of order. So what were you doing before the pandemic?
Organizing.
Then
the pandemic happened and all hell broke loose.
And because we saw each other, we saw each other right before the pandemic.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. Literally right before the pandemic.
It was right before the pandemic because I was there to see Dr. Frank Fang, a prominent surgeon in New York. And
I love him.
Yeah. Him and his staff are wonderful.
Just everything. And, you know, he has such compassion. I invited him to a focus group because I want to open up a health clinic.
Right.
And he came.
Did he?
Yeah, stunning. You know, you can only see past the mask. But he came in all his glory, and I was like, okay, Dr. Fang.
Yes, Dr. Fang.
Just a little Gucci bag.
Okay.
Out of scrubs and things. And it was nice to see, but that is somebody committed to the craft. I think investing in coming to know about what I'm doing is an investment into healthcare. My friend has a doctor, and he speaks so highly of this doctor that he calls him on like speed dial. And I was like, you can do that? And he was like, yeah, my doctor said if I ever have a problem, I can call. And you hear that kind of love pour out of a doctor. Epic. I was like, oh my God, your doctor actually does night calls.
Really?
For real.
Oh, wow.
Because, you know, my friend's feet swell up and stuff, and it's connected to his heart. And he takes those calls, and he's like, no, I'm here for you. You call me, you tell me, I'll run them there to pick you up and bring you to me. And I'm like, we have gone so far. We have gone very far.
There are several health insurance companies that cover gender affirming surgery for trans folks, especially in New York. Do you believe more insurance companies should pay for gender affirming surgeries for trans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Of course.
Do you believe young children should be allowed to take puberty blockers?
I think that should really be thought about. Yeah. Because if you start too early, there's a mental component to change. And I would never want to see anybody make the wrong decision. I would say age appropriateness for me is around 16, 17.
16, 17.
Because then you're making the choices yourself and not being guided. And how does a child at a junior age know? I knew from day one, but again, if I was a child, am I going to have those same feelings later? Am I going to be that same person later? Am I going to go from playing with Barbie to playing with Ken because now I'm a boy, or, you know, there is no telling, but to take it away from a child, to not give them the choice or the chance.
Yeah, that's a It's a lot.
That's
Yeah, that's a lot.
harmful.
Right. Do you believe transgender athletes should be allowed to play on the teams that they identify with their gender?
I gotta be honest.
Please be
I
honest.
have gotten my ass whipped by many a bitch.
By many of who?
Young. By many a bitch when I was young, by many little girls. So I personally, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it at all. If a trans man want to go in a ring and do a 2-for-1 with a dude, that's okay. I consider him a man. What does it matter what's between their legs? What matters is that they can actually do it. Their craft. Are you just worried about their sexuality? Their craft should be what's on platform. Because I'm sure if they made it to that level, like the Olympics and stuff, sweetie, they must be good. And that's good without sexuality. Because God damn it, Serena and Venus are big as fuck.
You know,
ain't nobody ever telling bitches that their testosterone was a little high and shouldn't be playing tennis. Let's be real here.
Now, what's interesting
I'm a skinny little frail thing.
You really are. I was in the mall one time and I had on some little poom poom shorts outdoor in LA at the outdoor mall. And I mean, I obviously I was looking really, really thin. And I'm a dark-skinned person, and I wouldn't say the person was trying to be funny or whatever, but they was like, "Oh, Serena," and I was just like,
"Ooh, you tried it."
I have never. Anyway, I was just like,
Serena. But you see, here we misappropriate things that you do not understand. But ain't nobody say nothing about them two gorgeous young women. But let's be real here. Them some big girls.
Who?
Serena and Venus. They probably wear bigger shoes than me. Their hands are probably bigger than mine.
Yes, queen.
But y'all never questioned them. But you'll question a trans woman only based on her gender identity other than her craft. I can't speak for Caitlyn Jenner. Sweetie, you were trans yesterday. And I got to look at it the right way. Your privilege of experience as a trans woman to talk for all trans women, be it an athlete or not, slow that down, taper your privilege, because that person may have struggled hard to get in that position they're in, and you being a former tennis pro, were allowed to go through your very quiet transition. Be quiet in your transition, educate yourself before you speak on behalf of a community you now are a part of. So I have a lot of problem with that flaw there.
In the first weeks of COVID-19, how did it affect your community and your friends and family?
So many of my friends died, put full fear in my life, panic. Had it not been for Dr. Peng, I'd probably be dead. I would have been out on the street saving lives and not myself. And yeah, I would have died of COVID. Dr. Peng gave me my surgery right before COVID. When I seen you, the next week I had surgery. That saved my life. Otherwise, I'd be dead. I would have died taking care of people and not myself. And I feel like if it ever happens again, I'd be one of those people that everybody should be scared, because I will be the person that's out there trying to save lives.
I'm going to read a quote.
Borjas.
Lorena Borjas, a prominent trans Latina organizer and immigrant rights activist in Queens. She was a leader, a mentor. She was somebody's mother. Had you met her before?
A couple of times, but here and there, in passing, going to stuff, because the Latina women weren't being very cooperative and value his time. And, so I got to be in circles, and she's got to lift me up as well. I didn't really know her, but clearly when she died and I heard, the panic in my mind was the trucks. I cannot let her get in that truck. And I called my First of all, I called one of her people and I said, I can get her. Very clear. I want nothing from none of you. I can get her to make sure she's not on that truck. Get her to a funeral home and make sure she's handled correct. And it was before you had clearance to get the bodies, because you needed a federal clearance in the beginning. And I called my mortuary, my family mortician, Mr. Manny from Interborough Funeral Home, said, I'm going to do this for you. And that was at the beginning, because you have been a part of our family forever. He's done everybody in my family, including a couple of stars. Like, that's a whole nother side too. So he went and he picked her up. He called me once he had her. And he said, she's hot like a firecracker, which meant he had to do something immediately because they still didn't have the protocol on what this looked like. So I had to call back out to her people and let them know, because their whole plan was funeral. They had clothing and all of this. And I was like, guys, none of it.
Where was she from? Mexico? Or some other, not sure.
That's how committed I am to my work. I didn't even care. I knew she was an immigrant and I knew she was a trans woman. Let's get her. Since that, I winded up doing it hundreds of times. Back to 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 back. The amount of sad phone calls I got, the amount of grief consoling I had to give, I'm surprised I'm not damaged. I'm surprised. I navigated some really fucked up waters. And
how do you self-care?
I don't know how to. I probably need to more. When do I have time? We're always trying to do better for our community. So self-care, especially during the pandemic, and mind you, at the same time that was going on, I was being abused by my caregiver after my surgery. I was being physically and mentally abused while I was doing all of that. And they weren't even a trans woman, they were a gay boy or gender non-conforming, to one of them, some of the people. So imagine the shock and horror as all of this is playing out. And I'm living my own private hell because I'm still not healed. So I can't go anywhere. And who do I call and tell them this is going on? While I save people's lives, I'm actually in harm's way.
Did you get fully healed before June 20?
No. When I did the march.
You were still healing?
I was still healing.
Oh, wow.
I was still healing. I was trying to feel optimistic, and I was still terrified.
You've been called the godmother of the Black Trans Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
And you co-organized the Historic Liberation March, a Black Trans Lives Matter silent march in Brooklyn with the family of Ayanna Dior. Am I pronouncing it right? Ayanna Dior and several other Black and transgender community organizations. What was the planning like for that?
They just, because they knew I was healing, they were like, we want you to, they tricked me because they probably knew I wouldn't come. They told me it'd be just 200 people, 250 tops. So I was like, oh, I can do that, no problem. And then I got there. Gazooks, way more than 250, 25,000.
You really were not
No, they bought me with the 250. I was like, I can do that. I go to conferences all the time. Bobby, that's a winner. And then I got there and got the gas face.
What? Wow.
Oh, I would have backed out. If I would have known it was that big.
You would have. About how long did you speak for?
I can't even remember it, but I look at the speech sometime and I fall out laughing because the shit that comes out of my mouth.
Right.
Also the love and dedication to our community is just.
Can I read a quote?
All those babies in white.
We're whores. Babies, I love you. I want you to breathe and sustain. I want you to stand tall and proud and Black and live. I want you to breathe and sustain. I want you to stand tall and proud and Black and live. Did Marsha Johnson inspire you?
Very transparent and very truthful. My mom Coco Lancoya Lucas Rodriguez is actually Marsha's gay daughter. She lived up there with Randy and Marsha and all of them at that time. No. Why would I be inspired? What inspired me, the people that made it past that era, Miss Major, Sharyngrayson, Janetta Johnson. Well, Janetta's my age, but you know, the Miss Majors, the Sharyngraysons, the people
you just said I'm sorry, you just said Sharyngrayson.
Yes, Sharyngrayson.
Is she from Texas?
Yes, my auntie Sharon.
Stop it.
Why?
When was the last time you talked to her?
I talk to her all the time.
I had no, okay, so I know her brother Mel Grayson.
Mel, you stop. You know Mel just passed.
Mel is my friend.
I'm so
sorry.
sorry.
Mel had been texting me up until pretty much the last week, and I was a little upset.
Mel went to live with Sharon and passed out there in San Francisco.
I heard. We have a mutual friend. Mel introduced me to a house DJ named Terrence Toy, a legendary house musician in LA. And I worked for Terrence for maybe 6 months or a year. And Mel introduced me to him. And that was 2009. Wow, I wasn't.
Small world, girl.
Mel introduced me to him. And so Mel, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mel. Terrence is now putting together a house mix CD tribute for Mel, and he's going to use some voice messages and things like that. And when you said Sharon, I'm like, but when you said Grayson, and I'm like, Sharyngrayson, that's Mel's sister. She just sent me a thank you email because they have a GoFundMe for him on so, and I know
they do on where
it's they have a GoFundMe, a fundraiser.
Where at?
GoFundMe online.
Yeah, but where at? Where do I find it?
I will, if you, I can email it to you.
You got my email. Email it to me, please.
Send it to info@G.L.I.T.S.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll send it to you there. They're trying to, they were requesting 25,000, but they've raised about 5,000.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, Mel was quite the powerful queen too.
Oh, Mel was. I have a friend who has a story about Mel and some Daisy Dukes and some equestrian boots.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Hunty. Yes. Wow. I had no. How long have you known Sharon?
I've known Auntie Sharon 6-7 years.
And I wanted to interview Mel for my Black History Month series that I was doing in February, but because he wasn't, feeling well and together.
You gotta do Auntie Sharon now.
Really?
You gotta. She is so
okay.
I mean, just elegant.
When she's ready. She
is so elegant. And
he's talked about her all the time.
The poise. And when she came to New York, I'll let her tell you the story, but she got cred here in New York. It was the best week, one of the best weeks of my life.
Really?
Even though she scared us all to death. She'll tell you the story, but she's a pro at this game.
Yeah. So, obviously this is going to be heavily edited. And so once it is, I assume you'll tell her about it and share it with her.
Oh, I'm going to call her right after I'm off the phone with you.
Yeah, I definitely will interview her, at her convenience when she's ready, because they're still doing the final arrangements and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that would be nice. That would be sweet.
And proudness. And Mel was very proud of Sharon. And Sharon she was like the first Black burlesque dancer in the world that was trans. How you do it?
Does Essence know that?
Sweetie, they got to see the picture. There's a picture of her on her Facebook page. You got to go through it with her with this snake. That is the photo.
I had no idea.
I had no idea either.
I was saying, does Essence know that? Essence from Red Umbrellas.
Oh, child. I met Auntie Sharon later. Essence would love to meet her, actually. When I tell you she is a class act. I took her to Puerto Rico last year.
I did see footage of you in Puerto Rico on an island.
Me and her.
That was you and her.
and the boys, and we were meeting the girls and doing outreach and healing my staff. It was beautiful.
Wow, this just made the world much, much smaller. I am so happy that I interviewed you, girl. This is, and I can't wait to tell my friends.
Remember, I kept telling you, I said that my life has been a gift from God. Here we go again.
I mean, but our community is so small. And
my
one of
pot
your
pie probably burnt. Yeah, I told him my pot pie probably burnt, probably dry as all cut loose.
and one of your I guess one of your quotes was, "We're fighting and we're winning."
Yes, God. I think we are. I think for the first time in our lives and in our conviction and in our stories, we are writing the blueprint to change.
I know you said some things about the first, that we will be first to go first.
Yeah.
And I know there's a scripture, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's something. It's in Matthew. It makes references. The last will go first, and something according to that. I had it, but I don't have it in front of me because I was going to read it. Go have a little bit of church. So,
yes, ma'am.
Right. So due to the pandemic and inequality, a lot of people are struggling emotionally and financially. Have you ever felt, oh, well, you said when you were young, you had suicidal. So what would you say to someone who is suffering and who's struggling and who's in a lot of emotional pain and who's confused, not just with their gender, but just with life and, just in pain and struggling? What would you say to them to give, what would you say encouraging wise? What would you say to them to keep, to comfort them?
To refocus, plant seeds that actually grow, to find a community and network to bind you and it's hard. It's hard to navigate how to pick those people, but you have to pick your army. And that army has to be not only transparent, but healing. It's the healing that we need as a people. Planting these seeds that are going to go so much further in life are going to be the blueprint to sustainability in your life. They're going to be your die and your ride or die. They're going to be the people that tell you you're wrong. Those are the people you want in your life. You need that reassurance. You need that. You need the lift up as well as when somebody needs to sit you down because you've gotten too big. And those are the people that love you and understand you. And they're not everybody. That may be 5. There may be 5 in your life that are life-saving. The rest of them may be trash.
Yeah. I've had 3 to 4 lifesavers. And 2 are still around. 2 are still here. So in 2021, you were selected as the Grand Marshal for the NYC Pride. How did that honor make you feel? Were you surprised?
Very gay. No. Very gay. It's not really a surprise. I know what I'm doing is life-changing. I don't take it, and nor did I take it as a frivolous act. It is because of the work, not only myself, but my staff are helping me create change in such a positive way where people think it's the accolades. It's not the accolades.
No.
It's actually the college degrees that turn it for me. Want to make me wet? Let's give me.
I'm sorry, say it again.
You want to make me wet? Give me a college degree. Matthew, there's a package outside. Give me a college degree. I'll get moist in a second.
Let me ask you this. Do you remember the first Pride you ever went to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was free. It was beautiful.
Would that have been in that?
It was everything compared to the past 20 years. The past 20 years have been crap, pure crap. When when Mayor Koch was in office, we actually had a stage on Christopher Street. Huge stage. What happened? David Dinkins, huge stage. What happened? Because that Koch came through and he policed like policing has never looked. Not only did he run off the mob, he ran the gays off too. I hope Crotch got, I hope, what's his name? The one that Giuliani.
Uh-huh.
I hope Giuliani had a bad meatball. That man tortured us. I'm not a cattle. You got us walking through prods like we're cattle with police on both sides of us. We're not the community that needs policing. Like, we're queer, we're gay, we're trans.
Yeah.
We're a community of love. You need to stay on the perimeters, on the outside, and keep them away. Let us be in our bubble, but y'all need to stay the fuck away from us as well. Put one or two, and don't tell me, oh, we got gay cops. I don't want to hear that. A cop is a cop is a cop.
Ain't that the truth? They still got handcuffs and a gun.
And a gun, honey. And they still do funny things depending on their day.
They sure do. It's very, and some nasty things as well. But that's not what this show is about. So
no, ma'am.
We're talking to developers about opening up a sex worker health clinic on the ground floor. Another place we're looking at has 8 apartments with the restaurant downstairs. Imagine that, a trans-owned, trans-run restaurant right here in New York. How much of your vision for G.L.I.T.S and the trans community has been realized?
I think a lot of people are realizing it now, that I am that person. If I commit to it, community commits to us. Much of it
Have you accomplished?
Have I accomplished? Well, we're now fighting for a space on Reese Beach. That's Pier 1 and Pier 2, and the project is called The People's Beach. December, as a way to show not only the government, but society, our beach and our location that we want to turn into a land trust, because a landmark will still belong to them. A land trust will keep it in us. I think we sent a proposal to the governor's office for a reentry program, a fully equipped reentry program with all the bells and whistles to keep people out of jail, not turn them back to jail. And the best way to do that is to provide them with the necessary needs. And people are seeing that vision. It's a shame and a privilege that a Black trans woman had to make these moves, that all these people with millions and billions of dollars didn't think of this, that some rich white corporate mogul didn't think of housing specifically for our community, but a Black trans woman did.
And I'm going to read another quote. This was during the pandemic, the start of the pandemic. Thinking about people dying in jail hurt like nothing else. We had to get them out. Did you know people that were personally in jail or?
No,
but
I was getting calls left and right from jail. And if they were the most horrifying calls, I can like vividly, that's why I said I did, with all of this shit going on, bitch could use some therapy. I got one call from somebody that was getting beat with the other phone while they were telling me, please call the jail to help them. Just people crying.
And this is Rikers, right?
Rikers. People crying because there was dead bodies in their cell and they could not leave. Obstacles created for others.
So much has happened in the past 2 years, and it's just so it's so much. It's just so much. How did you come up with your programming and approach to solving community issues that has resonated with so many? I think you just answered that.
Yeah.
You just answered. Yeah. You just.
Well, I did. The real answer is, the best way to be a help is to know who you're helping and know your niche market. I was my own niche market. So I see the change that needs to happen. I see the what if, because what if I had it?
Yeah.
What if it was there? What if all this privilege was in place when I needed all this privilege? I could have been by now a Kamala Harris, a vice president, a judge. I could have been somewhere in life, or a ballerina, a prima ballerina, or a fashion designer had I had the support.
Talk show host.
Media
maven.
Yeah, well, word. And nothing was there for us. And to have this happen now, it's never too late. So I'm never going to tell somebody, I will tell an elder, school is the best place for you. But I believe that everything happened in its right time. No, it may not have happened in the time that I needed, but it happened in its right time. When I could accept it and move on it, it happened. Gala.
Will we be seeing any gala fundraisers or charity auctions for
Yes, we're having a gala June 2nd. It's the Glitz Gala called Whore Dynasty. We are featuring Barbara Tucker, Sean Miley Moore from X Factor, Barbara Tucker recording artist, Sean Miley Moore from X Factor, beautiful people, that Barbara Tucker.
I like that song, yeah.
I do too. Sean Miley Moore from X Factor, Dominique Powell, Lady Jasmine, who else, Matt? Oh, the Dragon Sisters, DJ Maya from Pose, Frankie Paradise. Yes,
yes, Queen, yes.
Oh, I got the kids coming through.
Where's it gonna be at?
It's gonna be at Nowadays in Brooklyn. It's 5056 Cooper Street in Brooklyn. It is not only a community 5606. It's not only a community location, it's a community within a community because all that staff work at protecting us. They literally, it's one of the places where I felt at most home. I'm also on the board of Nowadays as well. Okay. So I like how they come to us for the answers. And then we can tell them in our points of view what sustaining Black trans women look like, what our spaces should look like, how we want to be policed for safety and what that looks like. I've never been to one institution that has ever froze.
We froze. Are tickets still available?
Tickets are available online. There are flyers. You can go to the Nowadays website. You can also go to any of the flyers we have a QR code, not only for donations, but also for tickets. I am this year, gag, I am giving some major people in New York City awards because I've seen their work. I've heard their cries. Yeah. If I could have gotten through the phone and the cooties weren't around, I would hug them.
The cooties, right. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I wanted to show them that I appreciate them. In December, the Data and Violence Against Sex Worker, I normally would have had this event, but to no avail. I'm still doing it. I'm still having it. I'm just having it in June on International Whores Day.
Right. It is International Whores Day. So is this is your Pride event too?
I guess you might as well say it's the beginning of Pride.
It's the kickoff of Pride, right?
It's the kickoff for Pride. It is the Pride event of
It's the Pride event. Okay.
Yeah.
That's Tuesday, right?
That's Thursday.
No, Thursday. Okay, Thursday.
From 7 till 4 a.m. The show starts at 9. Because
how much are tickets starting at?
I don't see. This is how bad I am.
You don't know that,
Matt? Do we know how much the tickets are?
Starting at?
I think they're like how much? $15 or $20.
Oh, I'm there.
And trans women get in there for free.
Oh, I'm there. Thank you. I will be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. She is quite literally the embodiment of what it means to love people who look like her. As Asani Arman, founder of For the Girls, a New York-based mutual aid organization. That's really beautiful and really rare in this moment.
I think it's always good to stay humble. And I think what keeps me humble and you humble is just the support and love the community needs. That's all that matters. But within our community, there are a lot of assholes.
I
gotta be real. Ooh. And there's some navigation that needs to be done in praying, and
I was going to ask you. We often talk about the violence that happens towards the LGBT community, but the community often sweeps the violence against that's inflicted upon other LGBT people by LGBT. They kind of sweep that under the rug.
Well, when I see organizations lie and say that they're helping people sustain and they don't, that's violence. When I see people sit up at major levels in Congress and the Senate and where these decisions are made and said, I do such and such, and it boils down to nothing because your deliverables. I need to see your deliverable. I need to smell it. I need to know it's in the air. I find that violent, but when I see a trans girl rip off another trans girl's hair, I'm appalled. When I see a trans man fighting with a trans woman in the name of love, I am appalled. And it's so many things, but I would think that we are our worst enemies because the hate we hold within ourselves, and then it spills out into society, and society sees it at that moment to be the reason why they attach it to their clowning, because they say you did it first and now we can do it.
Right.
So I look at all of that.
Yeah. I would go into a little story about somebody who was giving money to women and trans, and they said no questions and just send us your social media, your name, and and then I did that, and they said no questions, and then they emailed me and asked me some questions, and I answered the questions, and then I never heard back.
Yeah.
And then I hit the person up on social media and said something to her, and then she blocked me, and I was just like, "You're full of shit."
I think I might know the same person.
She's African.
I went through this.
She's African. She's a filmmaker.
Yes, I went through this.
Pardon me?
I went through this.
I found out about this on Halle Berry's Instagram. This was about a year ago.
I went through this.
I said, okay, you're saying you're giving this money out to women and trans people, no questions asked. I email you the information.
You asked a lot of questions. Yeah.
And I was like, what? You're full of shit.
But I also went through that with so much of the mutual aid money that was supposed to go out and where it was going, and it never got there. Some of the meal programs where people were supposed to be assisted in meals, and those meals never got there. And the amount of phone calls we got in this one little tiny agency to correct a lot of that. I did everything I was supposed to do. And then I got socked with almost $400,000 in taxes for doing the right thing, for sending money to everybody. So the people that give you the money that they were giving out during the pandemic, mutual aid. Yes, I agreed to accept the money, but what they didn't tell me was that I would have to pay the taxes on all that money. And a lot of people out here that accepted mutual aid. But as a small organization, I was not ready for that. Yes, I gave it all out. I was supposed to.
The taxes was the gag.
The taxes were the gagger. And the fact that education that took on this taking to help people, but did not have the help to help me navigate these waters of institution around finances and helping the community. Yeah. Now I've learned a good life lesson.
You can be an accountant.
I will be very smart going
CPA.
But I will not trust just anybody with mutual aid, because I've seen some of our own sisters and brothers fuck and take advantage of that totally and use it to buy $500 and $600 wigs when you were supposed to feed somebody that's starving. Or maybe get them a cab to the psych ward because they need to go. All these things, or maybe separate a family in a domestic violence situation. All these things you could have done with that money besides shelter your fantasies.
A lot of exploitation going on.
Yeah.
So about 5 more minutes. So you're a proud former whore. That's fair to say, right?
Yes, God. Yes.
Right. Okay. So to be a successful whore, you need advertising, marketing, and communication skills, correct? Do you attribute any of your success of being a whore to your leadership position that you're in now?
All of it. I've been a leader since I was a whore. I've been a leader. I've been instructing people and helping people. I wasn't just selling it.
Not for the whores.
Yeah, I wasn't just selling it. I was doing it while I was doing it. I also figured out my brand in marketing as a whore. I figured out that there was a safer and better way to go into fetish work to save my ass so I could have a wall or two still stand and
And some Popeyes chicken to eat.
and some Popeyes, honey.
Yes, honey.
But also I got to see within this realm of sex work that the floors in our community that needed to be lifted up, and how to hold and power, and how to use that sex worker power to take care of your sister and brother sex workers, and how to encourage them for tomorrow. What it looks like to give up that platform heel and thong,
Yeah,
and go legit. And that's an option. You don't have to do this your whole life.
no.
That maybe
You can retire
you can retire
early.
early.
In the Red Umbrella Diaries documentary, you said while in jail that you used to starve every 5 minutes. How does it feel to no longer starve and to know that you are now assisting hundreds of other folks with eating healthy?
I still starve. That's a lie. I still starve. I am always hungry. But there's so many things that take my appetite away. So that's why I starve. It could be the matter of one phone call.
Yeah.
And my appetite is gone because somebody else is in need.
And
Or my sleep is gone because I can't sleep because I'm worried about that person in crises. But I do have a very, 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 very rich palate. My tongue is like another. I love food, and my relationship and connection to food is honestly my connection with community. I love cooking for community.
will there be food at the event, Whore Dynasty?
Oh, hell no. For the performance and stuff, yes. But me catering that whole thing, hell no.
Because I remember
There's a
back
restaurant in there.
in 2013 or 14, you were doing catering, weren't you?
I catered for the school and certain events.
Okay.
Like I still do
Oh,
for
okay.
certain events. Like people call and they're like, oh my God, I need you to cook for me. But that costs.
Right.
Because then I gotta cook, go get done up, come back, talk to people, and do that whole thing.
A whole nother production.
Yeah, that's a whole thing now.
Yeah. You also mentioned if you were raised by a family of drug addicts, you would have felt more loved. With the passage of time, do you still feel that way about your family?
I'm in a privileged way to say now I control the narrative. I'm actually taking care of the very people that fucked me over, that did not sustain me, that taught me all this class and pomp and circumstance, but didn't give me the love that I needed. And now I'm in a position to be their caregivers and caretakers. But also I'm in a position of saying, kiss my ass, and I feel good for it. I don't have to be sheltered by the harm that was caused me.
Yeah.
Sweetie, you should never want me to do anything for you because of the way you treated me. But you know, people, places, and things, they'll learn. And I've learned that once I forgave myself, I was able to forgive them for everything, which makes me a better bitch.
I've been considering buying property upstate so I can start a farm. I would love to see a trans-owned farmer's market, distillery run by trans girls. They're all just dreams, but the dreams are starting to manifest and happen. One of my favorite films is Hustle and Flow. Actor Terrence Howard, he plays the role of a struggling rapper, and he says, everybody gotta have a dream. Everybody gotta have a dream. Biggie Smalls rapped on the song Juicy that it was all a dream. He never thought hip hop would take him that far. Why are dreams important?
Because that progress, that dream can actually be a reality. It can be not only a dream, you can manifest it into greatness. Yeah. If I didn't have a dream, I would have never been able to do this. But it started from a dream and a thought and a cry for help within that dream that manifested into actually doing the work.
Have you thought about where you would be without having had your dream?
I probably wouldn't have been in a good place. My dreams have taken me clearly around the world. I've met Lady Phil, the Grand Marshal from Pride 2 years ago, who I just seen in California last week, and Sean Miley Moore, who I met in London, in the middle of a club that my friend owns in London. Didn't have a clue who this person was, but they started singing to me, so they knew who I was, but I didn't know who they was. We're now friends, sisters for life. because of a dream to travel, a dream to go abroad, a dream to help people on an international level, not just globally, but international.
What do you have to say to a young, hopeless person regarding dreaming?
Listen to them. Listen to the path of your dream and don't dim the light on them. Good or bad, there's a message in all dreams. Look for that message and follow that message. It may be the platform to forever, a higher plane. And never give up. Never give up on your dreams. Manifest all of them, big or small, manifest them. Because in that dream lies gold. There's a little nugget in every dream.
That is true. So this is Pride Month. What are you most proud of, Ceyenne?
I'm proud of our community. I'm proud of all these babies graduating, getting their papers. I am proud of the success of growth, how we have grown. I'm proud of my staff. I finally got a staff that gets it. Well, a staff member that gets it. And just having that support, having
you froze. You okay? We're back.
Just having dreams and having the support of my crazy ass life, because my life for my staff, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I know they fear how I'm going to be in the end of all of this, because I give so much. I don't know how to self-care, but they support me making these changes in history and in life. And I needed that. I needed that support. Because I needed to know that's family.
You're still moving into a lot of uncharted territory.
Yeah, in a male charged society, and a society where women are allowed to discriminate just as equally as men are. The challenges are still there.
Yeah, of course.
The challenges are still there. I no longer need the acceptance, though. That's where I've grown. I used to want to be accepted by society and people. I don't give a fuck anymore. I grew out of that. Who gives a shit? And that goes to say, I don't always have to be in makeup and hair and done up. I can go to the grocery store and still be called Miss and Ma'am. That is the power of being Black and trans. It's not this floss that I put on. It's everything that—
not drag.
Yeah. It's the being within the being, and not the title that goes with the being. I inspire others, or inspire people to inspire others. And that's what I want.
I had no idea that it was going to go for this long, girl, but this was just amazing, because I mean, I learned so much more about you, but again, we have a mutual friend, melvingrayson, but just everything. And I'm going to be there next Thursday. So I'm coming to that event. I'm going to edit this and I'm going to publish it.
Screenshot. Hold on, because I want to send it to Auntie Sharon.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes.
Yes. I'm glad, because, Mel was her last. There are no more. She is the last of the bloodline.
And